Hello and welcome to your Team DSI Advanced Leadership webinar. My name is Jared Krebs. I'm pictured here with my wife, Crystal. We're Emerald Directors, co-founders of Team DSI, and we want to acknowledge you for being the best on our team and the best in USANA. You're the type of person that is working your plan. You're planning your work also every week by doing your weekly action plan. And so we want to sow into you. We want to give you extra training and support. And today's special guests are very, very inspiring. You're in for an amazing training. I hope you have a pen and paper to take notes. You're sitting up, paying attention, because these two ladies are going to share what's help them build an Emerald Director business, which is a six-figure year business. Now, before we get started into the training, I want you to always remember that amateurs sell products, professionals sell the vision. It's good to get clients, but make sure that you keep inviting your clients to the big events and getting your clients in front of webinars and helping them to upgrade into associates and sell the vision of what USANA can offer, not just the products, but the finances, the community, everything that USANA offers. And so without further ado, we are blessed to have Emerald Directors Abby and Arabelle Ramboyong from California on this call. And Abby and Arabelle have become friends of mine and Crystal over the last couple years. I've watched them grow. And what's so exciting is that they're one of the very few new Emerald Directors in the United States market. So what they've accomplished is something that's very, very impressive. And Abby and Arabelle, I just want to thank you personally for taking time out of your day to sow into our team, to share your story. We love and appreciate you. I'm very excited to hear your story because I have not heard it before. We definitely want to hear about what your life was like prior to USANA. What were your lines of work? What were some of the things you were maybe frustrated with, and how did USANA solve those things? Maybe also what struggles you had to overcome while you built your USANA business, and what's your life like today, also because of your USANA business. So without further ado, I'm going to bring you onto the webcam here. Abby and Arabelle, are you there?
Yes, we are.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Krebs and the entire team. It was great meeting your dad just a second ago. And I'm glad you're back in Utah with your family for some support. We just, first of all, want to express our gratitude for considering us and asking us to express our experience with USANA and sharing our story. So we like to go in chronological order because it makes most sense that way. So we're going to have Abby go first.
Awesome. So hi, guys. I just want to go ahead and share our story right from the get-go. I'm 31 years old, and my first exposure to USANA was about 10 years ago, or 11, excuse me. I was 20 years old, but that didn't mean that I did USANA right away. I signed the application, but never did anything with it. I remember, at the time being 20, when life was just perfect for me. Everything checked out. Career-wise, I had my ideal job. My health was on point. I was in a really good relationship. I was going to school. I mean, everything was checking out to the point of driving even the car that I wanted. So when I first met Michael Callejas, I actually was plugged into a one-on-one with him. And this was my first lesson, I think, in the business was you can't do the wrong presentation to the right person. What I mean by that is timing is just far more important than talent. So we can do the best presentation, we can practice over and over, but if the timing is not there and if the need hasn't been created for, your prospect that's sitting in front of you, then we can't take it personal that they're not going to sign on with us, because again, it was all about timing. So that was when I was 20. 4 years later, I would be 24. A lot happened in those 4 years. This was kind of like my growing times, right? I gained 30 pounds because I was so committed to my job. I didn't mind being the first one in and the last one out. My relationship was falling apart. It was my first time experiencing my first tragedy, in my family. I lost someone that was very close to me. So this was kind of like rock bottom for me. And I think I kind of saw the way Mike was following up with me. It wasn't a follow-up USANA way. It was just following up as a human being. From a human being to a human being, it was just, hey, how's it going? Are you okay? And I remember, he would, bring me to convention. So that would be like my second biggest exposure. And the third exposure for me was really just looking at the mirror, like me. Like I wasn't happy anymore. Again, I was 30 pounds overweight. And I knew that the biggest shift that I needed to make started with me, because I was very much into, I wanted to serve people. I wanted to help people. So to go beyond me, I knew I had to start with myself. So at that time, I was almost going to graduate college. I majored in public relations at Cal State Fullerton. And the reset was really hot at that time. And I simply saw it as, here's a tool that's going to help me get to my goal. I want to lose weight. And there was the reset. Did it for 5 days, lost 5 pounds. And it didn't stop there. I continued on with the transformation. So this was about a 3-month transformation, and I lost about 20 pounds. Didn't work out. I strictly focused on my diet. And I learned about the world of nutrition and, macros and micros around that time. And I was very much into that. So if you guys want to see my before and after photo, I'd be happy to share that with you after the call. And so seeing the reset and what it did for me, naturally people asked me, what I did. And the way I saw USANA, again, is just a tool. So it's the same thing as me eating at a restaurant. I loved my experience and I referred it to people, because that's kind of like my passion. Whenever I experience something that's really cool or have a really good story to tell, I can't wait to tell my friends and family about it. So there was this natural, organic passion that was kind of brewing in me. Hey, people were asking me what I did, and again, it was just naturally sharing. So from that, I saw this opportunity to share the reset with a ton of people. And not just that, it was the vitamins as well. So from that aspect, I wasn't really into how am I going to make money off of this. I was just really trying to get the word out. USANA as a really good brand, the way I saw Apple as a brand. So after that, graduated, and I returned to the world of corporate. And I had this new energy about me, but at the same time, I sat back in a cubicle. I was an administrator, and I felt like I was just kind of starting all over again, like square one. And I kind of saw just where I was going in the next 1 year to 5 years. Did I see myself at this job? Can I retire here? And is this going to be fulfilling for me? And all the answers to that was no. So of course, this is a time when I did think about Mike. For some reason, he just always popped in my head at those times. So I remember picking up the phone, and it was during my lunch break, and I called him and I said, okay, so this was a time when Mike was actually, his business was just going on an uphill. He had hit the $1 million club, remember, when he was 30. So I remember thinking, all this time that I was saying no to the opportunity, I'm seeing this person. And again, for me, it only took one person to do this. I called him and I said, okay, is this how we're going to be financially free? Am I going to have to sell vitamins? And I love what Jared started off in the beginning when you said, the quote was, sell people the vision. We're not in the business of selling vitamins, but we are in the business of being around people. Mm-hmm. So I knew that once I became more interested in people and less interesting, there was a shift, because Michael told me, the day that you understand that I'm not selling vitamins here, I'm selling a vision, and I'm creating leaders, that's when you'll understand USANA conceptually. And he hung up on me. And after that, it was really this moment. So I know people always ask, what was the turning point? We're all going to have turning points in our business when it's unexpected. So for me, it was as simple as, holy cow, okay. Because if I think about it, I don't want to be in a business just to sell vitamins because it's not sexy. It's not appealing. I remember, my family would make fun of me. I was referred to as the vitamin lady, and I didn't really like the way that sounded, and it did something to not just my ego, but like, I graduated, I have all this experience in corporate, and all of a sudden I'm selling vitamins. So that was like an important turning point for me to understand, again, we're not in the business for vitamins, but for people. So from there, my background is kind of the tortoise and the hare. I am really, really slow. As you can see, I saw USANA 10 years ago, and it took me a while to take off. I don't care to be the first person to finish a race as long as I finish the race. And when I say slow, I mean really slow. So when I returned, upon my return, I remember thinking, I'm going to keep this very simple. I'm going to choose one person to help with their business and one person to help with their health. And that's it. That's all I could take. Because again, I was, working a lot of hours at my regular job, and I had a lot of family duties at the time. So this is kind of when West, as an organization, started between Arabelle and I. At age 26, so this would have been, am I doing the math right? 5 years?
Yeah.
I'm horrible at math, but 5 years ago, the first person that I wanted to help with their health her name is Joanne. And I simply walked her through what I did with the reset. And upon taking care of her from day to day, making sure that I was adding more value than I was, asking anything in return. On the 5th day, Joanne ended up selling 8 resets. So now she opened up 8 people to me, and we simply repeated that cycle. So I hope you guys caught that. I just focused on one person, brought me to 8. And then on the other side of USANA, which is the business side, I then started with Arabelle. Arabelle and I were friends at the time, really good friends. And I said to her, you know what, I'm going to help you do the business. And I'll let her kind of share her story with that. But then upon helping Arabelle, she then led me to 4 people, because we were trying to get her to platinum pay setter. And then those 4 people will talk about where they're at in the business as of today. So to conclude my story, so we can, again, go in a chronological order with Arabelle so she can take it from here. There were just a lot of lessons that I kind of did not realize it at the time, but now looking back, I feel like there's these nuggets, right, that we pick up as long as we do our due diligence of personal development. That was really huge for me. I remember thinking, how can I pour into people when I'm feeling empty? So as passionate as I was to help people, if I wasn't helping myself, then there was no way that this is going to work, because we can't pardon my French, half-assed it. People can feel when we're not being, authentic with them. People can feel when we're just trying to sell something to them. But when we're really, really listening, and when we're there for people, that need will come up organically. So 5 years in the business now, I feel like now my focus has been on conversations. Instead of worrying about how many people am I going to present to today, I'm worrying about who am I going to have a really good conversation with today. And if I don't hit at least 5 people to have these good conversations with today, then I didn't hit my goal. My goal isn't to ABC always be closing. My goal is to simply plant seeds with one person at a time. So I'm going to have Arabelle take over on where we are from here.
Well, when Abby decided back then to focus on one associate and one customer, Joanne was the customer and I was the first associate. And we were friends back at the time. And, she invited me to a presentation where Mr. Callejas was speaking, and I attended. I thought the information was great. I thought the health and freedom made total sense. And then I turned to Abby and I said, but I don't want to do the business. And she looked at me kind of perplexed because I was so on board with everything. But I had a full-time job as well. My background is in training and development for a technical company, for a cable company. So I trained people there, and I was working about 55 hours a week. And just to give you guys a little illustration of what I looked like, it's okay if I share this picture, right? This is what I looked like prior to starting the business with USANA right there. And I hope you guys can see that. I'm a little shaky. Yeah, no way, right? Yeah, I was about 186 pounds. You know, my health was in the toilet. My nutrition was in the toilet. I smoked cigarettes. I abused alcohol, you know, wasn't very responsible with it. And I'm saying that to be honest, to let you know where I really was prior to it. I think the biggest thing is my perspective, and that's what has grown since USANA. So when back at that meeting where she invited me to listen to Mike, I told her I didn't want to do the business because I was afraid of adding more responsibility to my life on top of my 55, hours a week at my regular job. But I did turn to her again, and I said, but do you need me to buy some products? Like, will that help your business? Because I'll still be a friend, I still wanted to support her. And she said, well, Arabelle, I don't want you to purchase any of the products if you don't really want to consider taking better care of your health. And I looked at her and I said, you know what? You've always had great intentions for me. I'll use the product, with full intention to see what it could do for me in my life. And about a month and a half later, I felt a really drastic difference in my health, enough for me to spawn the question of, man, who else do I need to tell about these things? I had not much knowledge about health at all or any of the products. I just knew what I was using was working for me. I was feeling better. It was something that I couldn't deny on the inside. And my second thought was, I have to go back to Abby and admit that they work. So that's always funny for me to rethink that moment, But from that moment, I just started, referring my friends and a lot of family members to her. And it got to a pretty ridiculous point where she said, you know what, if you should really open your distributorship at this moment, because you would have been on your way to make a couple of checks at this point because of our referrals, right? And I said, well, if I don't want to go to meetings, I don't want to do any more of this stuff. And she's like, well, if it's not going to entail much of that and you're just going to keep doing it, let's just do it anyway, because hey, you've earned the commission at this point. It's a referral based business, right? And so I said, all right. And I kept doing that. But maybe about a week or two later, Abby came back to me and she said, I think you have a really great chance at hitting Platinum Pacesetter. And I had no idea what that was, but it sounded cool and I liked her. So I said, great. What is that? What do we do? And, you guys all know at this point what Platinum Pacesetter is. So the first couple of people that we approached were my brother, my sister, one of my best friends, and my cousin. And, they were all, they approved of the products. They loved it too. And so I think just me setting the pace for, hey, what could be, right? What's the harm of doing this if we're already doing it this way anyway? And so they signed up. I hit Platinum Pacesetter, and today they're all like silvers and above, silver and gold actually and above. So that's been really, really cool to be an active participant. Yes, that is awesome. Thank you. Into not only their health transformation, but in their personal development, in their careers. My brother is a 2-time tennis league champion, and he would get cortisone shots in his elbow from so much pain, right? But because he didn't want to stop, that was one of his passions. And, after introducing him to Percosa, he's never looked back. He's just a really dedicated product user. He's got a bunch of his coworkers that took advantage of the buy one, get one reset, BOGO promotion, So it's really leveraged our business in that way of her saying, have those conversations with people, because if no is a no, then it's a no. But you never know which one is going to be a yes that's going to lead you to even more yeses, right? And we've always just looked at that business that way. And I've heard that a lot of these people on this call right now, teammates are active business builders, you know. And when you are in your training right now and growing into that leader, what I've noticed is that leaders won't pass up the chance to plant a seed. You may not be closing all the time, but you definitely won't pass up the chance to drop a seed, or even give somebody a compliment, or just get the thoughts going. What could be? What if? Right? What's stopping me from having these people ask these questions to themselves? How are people feeling after having a discussion with us? You know, with you guys, right? Are they walking away thinking bigger and feeling better about themselves, right? And the direction that they might be going in, or are they feeling otherwise? You know, I think it's very important to reflect on how we conduct business in that sense as well, right? So, you know, I was also working back then for an insurance agency. And as soon as our business started to grow, my job really just started to, how do I put this? I wasn't serving them as well as I could anymore, because I felt like my value and my energy needed to go somewhere else, right? I innately felt that. And I would get text messages from family and friends that would say, hey, I really love this stuff that you introduced to me. How do I know more? Can I talk to this person about it? Can you send this? And that's really where I wanted to drive all my focus to. And so at that point, we looked at our business and we're like, you know what, let's follow Robert Kiyosaki's business plan. You know, if all these people who have great influence in business are backing this up, what if we take it to the next level? And that's actually when our relationship started to form, right? And so working together has been a challenge, but it's have started USANA back then has greatly influenced our life today. I mean, you know, we've traveled. The farthest I got before 4 years ago was like Las Vegas and Seattle, and those were like twice a year. You know, I mean, I come from humble beginnings. My parents gave me everything that I needed. They put a roof over my head and things like that. But, you know, I wanted to live a grand vision, right? And one of the first things that my wife knew was important to me was to go see more of the world, get perspective outside of there. And she was kind enough to just put that really at the forefront of one of our goals from building this business, was to go travel, reconnect with family and friends, share the vision in that sense as well. So today, this is our full-time gig. You know, this is what we do now, USANA, and it's been an incredible journey as well as the travel. Again, do you want to mention anything that how it's impacted our life today?
I think we share a lot of the objections that mostly everyone has. You know, yeah. I think it was just a matter of how do we equip ourselves to overcome these objections. And these objections can really make or break us. You know, I'm talking about questioning, you know, the industry. You know, does network marketing work? And for me, that took a while. That took a really long time for me to embrace this business model, because I had such a sour, I guess, outlook on it from before, because people would kidnap me to presentations. So USANA wasn't my first, you know, business that I saw in an MLM fashion. There were like 10 different companies that my friends would somehow ask me to go to dinner and then somehow like stop by here for a meeting. And so by the time I saw USANA, I was kind of like, okay, again, like this is one of those things. So having that, you know, outlook didn't really help for me to be a solid close in USANA. It took a while for me to close myself. Another objection of, you know, this is really hard. This business is hard. And I'm not going to lie, the business can be challenging, but it's not impossible. I kind of just focus on the word rewarding. It's super rewarding. There was no way. I usually like to draw out pros and cons of things. That's the way like my brain operates. And when I did that with USANA, it gave me more time, more health, more money, all in in the trifecta.
Yes.
I knew that if I was, because we can make it. We can make it without USANA, all of us here on the call. We can go just stay at our job and be satisfied, I feel. But there's something about before we go to sleep and we ask that question, is this it? Is this, if I'm happy, then I'll stop. But every day there was this burning desire for me that was feeling like I'm just not. And it wasn't measured in money. It was measured in how come I'm not feeling fulfilled? Like how can I spread more of this with people? And once I embrace, again, MLM in a whole before I saw USANA, that really helped me see that there's nothing like this out there as a business model that will give us those three things. Again, more time, more money, more health. And whatever it is that's important for people, first, I feel like you have every bit of control here. If you want more time, you can. If you want more health, you can. And at my previous jobs, if I wanted one thing more than the other, I'd have to sacrifice one thing, right? Like if I needed to make more money, I needed to put in 60 hours, and therefore it would affect my health, and then I wouldn't have time for family and friends. So it would just, do you guys kind of follow what I'm saying there? So that was an objection, and I like to specifically focus on how to overcome these objections for us so we can help our team realize like, hey, we're all going through it together. Even until this day, I don't think that that'll ever stop. I think for us, where we are today in the business is battling relevance. We want to stay relevant in health and USANA as what it represents. So
yeah, and just already we've decided for ourselves that we're in this for the long run. We knew ahead of time that we're going to go through some peaks and valleys, and it's going to be a roller coaster at times, but pour into your business every day, a little bit every day, a little bit every. I know you guys have a worksheet, a Team DSI worksheet, which I think is fabulous, right? Because if you really focus, it drives focus to your business in that sense. But even for people who aren't like that, because we have people on our team who aren't active in their business like that every single day, but they still pour in. They pour in somehow. They refer a friend, or they order prenatal for a neighbor that's pregnant or something like that. Imagine what that energy could do over a 2-year course, 3-year course, 5-year course, 10-year course, your USANA career, what it could do. Brian Bulkey said something a few years ago, it never left me. It was so simple. He said, if somebody wants to sign up on auto order for a 10-point shampoo, that's 10 points you never have to think about. Yeah. So don't shoot for the 100 points if they don't even want the 100. Just do the 10, and like every little thing counts. Pour into it. Every little thing counts. And at the end, you're going to look back and say, wow, what if I never did all that? We've just learned to incorporate in our lives, and we've decided that we're here to stay,
Yeah, and I think try to take this with you. It's something that's been resonating with me lately. I know in USANA we're independent distributors, but I think more and more what's making me kind of dig a little deeper in my heart is we're not just a distributor. We have to become a contributor. How can we contribute without being so salesy and all the things that we have to embrace? Sales. USANA is sales, but that's not the forefront of the business, right? So how to be a conscious contributor and deliver the message of USANA to people in the right timing. I think that's so important. And also, we all know how it ends. What helps me is every convention, whenever I see anybody that's crossing stage from their first moment of, hitting silver to a freaking 15-star diamond director, whenever I see people on stage, celebrating their milestone, it really, really uplifts me. Because I remember what it first felt like to get your first check in USANA, a $50 check as a sharer. And I remember jumping up and down. So I celebrate every milestone. And when things get hard, which they do, learn to pause. Don't quit. Just pause and say, for me, whenever I'm like, kind of overwhelmed, I go to my music. I'm a DJ. I'll sit there, kind of, go into my music. And then the next day I'm ready to get back on. So learn to pause. Don't quit, because we know how this ends. So we just have to go through all the learning curves that go with it. And Arabelle and I are still there. So
for sure.
so right now we'll leave it up to questions. I know we're right about running out of time. So if you guys have any questions for us, we'd love to hear them.
Thank you so much, Abby and Arabelle. This has been phenomenal. Some of my main highlights was what you just said. Don't just be a distributor, be a contributor. Expecting that you're going to have peaks and valleys in your business, being in it for the long haul. Y'all are doing it full time now too. It's like so cool. We have time for one question, and there it is right there from Adriana Perez in San Antonio. How did you overcome your biggest challenge instead of quitting your USANA business?
Earlier Abby said, she just remembers to ground herself, right? I think when there is a challenge.
Or what was the challenge?
Oh, what was the challenge?
What was so hard that you're like, oh my God?
I'll give one and then
go ahead.
Can we both answer that?
Yes, of course.
I think for me was when I went to I believe it was my second or third convention, and I brought 10 people with me. And I was super excited. And right after that, a year later, everyone quit, as in I was back to zero. So looking back now, I feel like that was a really big challenge for me to overcome. I felt like it was enough for me to walk away from the business because people were quitting anyway. How I overcame that was, again, hitting pause. I just paused and took a long pause, I would say. I took about 3 months to kind of reevaluate. People quit for them, right? And I remember feeling like, was it something that I did? And if it is something that I did, what can I improve? I didn't make it about them. I didn't think, well, they're so busy with their jobs, that's why there's no, time for USANA. But for me, I took that opportunity and I said, I'm just going to be better, because this is something that I can learn from the fact that maybe I wasn't equipped to be a leader. And at that time, I really wasn't. I was still a young lady trying to do it all. Go be a family person, go to Vegas, go to school. Like, it was just a lot to take in. So I was a young, growing leader. So how I overcame that was I directed it back to me. And then as soon as I got better and I did more personal development, I was kind of into my spirituality a little bit more. I worked on how I could become better. So for the next wave of people that I'm going to build as a team, I was ready for them, and I wouldn't make the same mistakes that I did before.
Wow.
Yeah. And to answer the question for what was my biggest challenge, this is actually turning a page for today, because back then, still to this day, Abby and I have really big social circles. We have a ton of friends, and my tribe back then, when I first started, I was with them every day. I was like 25, 26, 27, years old. And these were my homies. These were like my brothers and sisters. We did everything together. And as soon as I started the USANA business, very few of them expressed interest. A lot of them just turned their head and wasn't really into it, And at first I really did start to take it personally. It was like, I didn't show it to the people, but I was like, that's interesting, And we still remained friends and still would attend each other's parties and stuff like that. But as far as focusing energy into the business, I had to do what I had to do, So I put my heart where it belonged, and it was definitely into securing a future for myself, and learning from other people. I said, these things are going to happen. The closest people to you might not agree with you, may even hate on it in the beginning, and that was 4.5 years ago. Guys, just last month, one of those friends out of that circle finally said, hey, Arabelle, do you mind if I sit down with you? I just really want to run some questions by you about health, first of all, and secondly, about what you do for USANA, about the company. And I said, my response was, of course, you got it. But on the inside, I was like, remember this night that this person asked you, because now doing something and never quitting, really, that moment right there really spoke to me. It said, people are watching. They just wanted to see me develop enough to sit down with me and say, hey, you've got enough credibility for me to give you 20, 30 minutes of my time today. And, you know, sometimes life has to happen to them, right? This person is now married, had her first child, moved into their first home. They're in their early 30s now, and life has changed, right? There are things that their priorities have been rearranged. And so I'm just glad that I never quit, that every day those feelings of like, am I doing something, you know, that's even going to be worth it, started to diminish, you know. But I just remembered to myself that night when I said to her, oh, yeah, cool, we could sit down. On the inside, I was like, oh my God, you know, I had a really big aha moment, because not that I needed their approval for me to continue or anything, but it just gave me one of those personal development moments that came to life. That's when somebody told you, don't ever quit, they're watching. That gave me a big reason why.
That's so awesome. Thank you both for sharing.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much.
All right. Yes, of course. So we're just going to go ahead and end the webinar right now. But wanted to first of all thank you for not only sharing your journey, but also being so transparent and sharing things that, you know, maybe not even are comfortable to share, but that's what we all go through. Yes. And I totally have been watching y'all from afar and admiring you, and I am so glad I got to hear your story today. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this into a YouTube video, and we'll definitely be sharing it with you, and you can use the link to share your story whenever you want. Great. And do you have any last advice before we end the call?
You know, my advice would be to continue to link arms with each other. If you've got a strong group like this, you know, lean on each other, lean into each other, pour into each other, which is why Jared and Crystal, we're watching you from afar too. You know, we want to pick your brain, because to have leaders and the support of each other with a strong group, you know, that's our foundation with West International too, is that we're a community based, family based business. And when you've got really good energy, I guess when 2 or 3 come together, right? Anything is possible. And who's it? Ivy Chan said something a long time ago. Said, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. So that would be my piece.
I think for me, something that has helped me every day to look at people and to love people is really this, is love people where they're at. Because the more I pour into accepting and embracing people where they're at, not just in the business, but just like in life in general, it somehow connects us back to the business. So I always focus on the forefront of what matters, which is giving people space and time, and being a great listener first and foremost, because some people, that's all they need, is to be listened to, and to have that kind of validation. So I feel like the more we validate people and the more we show them organically what we do in USANA, it kind of gives them that open choice of them deciding to be a part of this. Because before in my business, I would always just kind of present, and then forcing them essentially to do USANA, but that wasn't the right way to do it, right? So now I feel like people are coming organically because we're becoming a better messenger and loving them where they're at. So I feel like that would be my tip. Use USANA as just a part of your life as a tool, and people will come.
I love it. Meeting people where they're at. Well, fantastic. Thank you again, Abby and Arabelle. We love you. We really appreciate you. Cannot wait to keep growing with you and see you at the next big event. Now we're going to unmute the lines and everyone say thank you, Abby and Arabelle, and have an awesome day.
Thank you, Abby and Arabelle. Have an awesome day.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are y'all still there?
Yes,
Yep, we are. We're here.
Hold on.